Welcome, you're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us. Take time out of your day to become a better leader. We would hope that you subscribe on all of the platforms and make sure that you rate and review on Apple Podcasts. A few extra minutes to help get this in the hands of so many more friends and leaders just like you to get better, like we're trying to do, and visit leadinghope.online to get updates. Find out more about the Leading Hope community. Today, Kevin, is episode 159. Some would say it's the last one of 2022. It's the end of the year.
Oh, I just realized I put in my notes, I put 2023.
Oh, that's okay.
I jumped a year too early.
Yeah, you are moving quickly.
Can we just acknowledge something?
Yeah, let's acknowledge it.
That and I know it's been like a post, and I'm not making anything up right here. Mm-hmm. But when people say that 30 years ago, and it's 1992.
Yeah.
It's really discouraging.
It feels that way. It would feel that way.
It's mind-blowing to me.
It is. 1990s, Kurt Cobain would have been 60.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know if I'll get the math right, but people get the idea. It was we are closer to 2050 than we are to 1990.
Oh.
Did I get that right?
That is something.
No, we're a little bit off. But it was basically that idea of they listed a future date, and I was like, oh,
that's heavy.
Gosh.
That's heavy.
You realize the Jetsons had flying cars and all this other stuff, and it happened before where we are right now? Yeah.
Yep. Sorry. Every time I hear
those animators envisioned a better reality than we live in today.
Yeah, they're geniuses.
But we got the joy of the Lord in our hearts, folks.
We do. Praise God. And this is the last episode of 2022, which we're grateful that we made it through another year and excited about what's to come. You've actually titled this Better Than a Resolution List.
Yeah.
What's better than a resolution list?
Well, let me get there.
I know.
Can you give me a second?
Yeah, you can have as many
seconds. Out of curiosity, do you make resolutions?
I do not.
Why not?
Because I don't think I used to, and I think most people. I don't think they.
I'm not. There's no guilt here.
No, I don't. I don't think they work.
You don't think they work?
No.
Why don't they work?
I don't think people actually use them properly. I didn't, and I don't think most people do. I think most people start off I'm going to go to the gym this year.
Yeah.
They go 6 times and they're done.
Yeah, fair.
And I think resolutions are much the same.
Make my resolution to be the same great me in 2023 that I was in 2022.
Yeah. I think your resolution list was probably I will get closer to 2050 this year than I did the 1990. That's what I'm doing. Good job.
What's your resolution? Be a year older.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So,
what's better than a resolution?
We're right around
list?
resolution time.
What's better?
Okay? Where a lot of people create resolutions,
they do.
Things like that, stuff like that. Here's just my. I don't call them resolutions.
Yeah,
just call them goals.
Yeah,
which is basically the same thing. Yeah. But I think the tendency is we get obsessed about the target instead of improvement.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And I think it's good to have the target to say, I want to be specific.
Yeah.
I want to lose this many pounds. I want to run a mile in this amount. I want to read this many books.
Yeah.
But we get obsessed with, that I hit the target instead of the direction. Okay.
Oh,
we
totally.
get more worried about destination than we do trajectory. And trajectory is always the thing that matters more.
Yeah.
Which then gets us to this other spot where if you get too far behind, it can be incredibly discouraging. And people quit moving forward because you're like, well, I said I was going to lose 20 pounds and I've only lost 2 and it's November. And why would I even care?
Yeah.
Have you ever done the thing where I'm going to start a diet tomorrow, but tonight I'm going to eat everything that I could possibly put in my face.
I'm going to empty the refrigerator.
Yeah, it is just why not just start the diet tonight and already be a step ahead?
Yep.
I think that can become what happens.
I think that is what happens.
Yeah, we get far more focused on hitting the target than actually the direction that we want to move.
Yeah.
And if I could just acknowledge in this, the goal is to be better.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping. The goal is that we improve, we grow, we learn, we develop. Okay. All those, whatever synonym you want to put in there. And so I just want to give a different analogy for maybe the person who's never set resolutions Or the person who's tired of resolutions and you realize the resolution or the goal you're going to set this year is the exact same thing that you set last year and didn't hit or achieve.
Yep.
And you threw it away by March and you re-earthed it come end of December. Is introduce the concept of setting a curious list.
Curious list.
A curious list.
How
It doesn't.
about that?
It's not a great catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine.
No, I don't need it to be.
But all the things that you want to know something about.
Huh.
Like, here's my idea is what if you just sat down and you just made a list of all the things you want to discover, learn, grow, develop. And it doesn't have to be a target of I'm going to lose this many pounds or I'm going to do this, but all the things that you want to be fascinated by. Because I think what happens is I think we just get in intellectual imagination ruts. And we lose the wonder of our life.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
we just keep running through the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And we miss all there is to learn, to discover, to develop, to seek out. And if you actually just sit down, so ready? Can I give you my list?
Yeah.
I don't know how long this episode's going to be today.
I don't know, but I want to hear this list.
I've only got a couple things.
I want to hear your curious list.
Yeah. Ready? One, I want to learn new speaking structures. I want to learn a way of combining a comedian's free flow with a preacher's core idea. Because like preacher has like central idea.
Yeah, you're not far from that. Like that's not. Yeah.
But I want to figure out because like a comedian when they get, don't hear me as saying I want to be a comedian.
No, I don't.
That's not the. I'm talking about the structure of the talks. They have ways of just barely bridging together jokes, punchlines, things like that. So it feels like the whole thing flows, even though nothing's ever actually connected.
Yeah.
Where preacher has core idea and everything keeps coming back to that.
Right.
I want to figure out ways of how you can combine those two, that there's a core idea and yet it still feels free flowing.
Yeah. I don't think you're far from that.
I appreciate
keep going.
that.
I'll tell you the ones that you're far from.
I want to learn what entrepreneurs know about introducing a new product to the market, on how to educate people on what it is.
Yeah.
So like whenever, not a different product in the same, what entrepreneurs know about, this is a brand new product. Because I think as we move to a more post-Christian society,
That's good.
We need to educate people on what actually even is church, religion, these rhythms and practices that we adopt to get closer to God.
Yeah.
And to say, if we could learn what they know about educating the market, I think it would really help us in understanding faith.
That's good.
I want to learn how universities set up legacy giving.
Oh.
And what they do about that in terms of endowments and things like that. I want to learn how cities set up an entrepreneurial base that is focused on innovation and how this could function in a group setting.
Oh, that's cool.
Because cities do so many things to foster an entrepreneurial community that businesses spring up, where churches, I believe, they try to do cut, copy, paste in terms of community.
Yeah.
Instead of encouraging it like an entrepreneur, that there's things that they can put in place for that to actually happen.
I like it.
I want to learn how what event promoters know about designing environments in terms of everything from the marketing on those other pieces. I want to learn what TV networks learned about creating personalities instead of programs and how that translates to an online audience without overtaking the message. And so I think we're in this unique thing right now, church-wise, where we adopt like Paul's language on to say like, hey, I didn't try to have lofty talk. I just want to present to you the simple gospel.
Yeah.
But what we understand in the online community, and we see this, that TV networks have adopted, is they have personalities. They don't have shows.
Right.
ESPN, no one cares about First Take. It's Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
So like we see this all over. We see online, people aren't following brands.
Right.
They're following influencers.
Right.
And I think in a church, we need to learn a similar thing of how do we create personalities without the personality itself becoming the message, and the message is the thing that people connect with.
Yeah.
Because if we keep putting things just behind church brands, when people expect to be able to connect with individuals, which is a positive thing, because it promotes authenticity and intimacy there, that we're able to do it better. I also want to get better at Spanish, but that doesn't really fit with everything else going on here.
You want to get better at Spanish?
I mean, I took 3 years of Spanish in high school.
Yeah, I know you know how to get to the library, or at least ask people.
Donde está la biblioteca?
Which is great.
So
what else? That I mean,
that's
these
my
are
initial
lofty.
list.
These are very astute.
Yeah, so I would say it is like years ago, I learned this whole new element of leadership. I had a good buddy who was an insurance agent, and he taught me lead metrics. And lead metrics, like to an insurance agent, is bread and butter.
Right.
Like they don't function without it. For me, it was a completely foreign concept that really transformed how I led.
Right.
And so now I look at that and I go, there are in different disciplines, there's intuitive learning that is essential to fulfill the skill that is helpful outside that discipline that we're completely oblivious to.
Yeah.
And I think my tendency is, not my tendency. I'm going to say this. This isn't my tendency, but I think this is some people's tendency, is they just like run in, they do the same thing over and over and over again, and then their job's boring.
Yeah.
And to go,
that's
like,
for sure.
I believe you're responsible for so many ways about being fascinated about the work that you're doing. And I think one of the best ways to do that is just to say, hey, what are the things that you don't know? And if your list is really short, how do I say this? Like, you're kind of dumb. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Like if you go, hey, what are all the things you're curious about?
Yeah.
3 things. Well, it means you need to broaden your horizons. There's so much that I didn't even tap into because I'm completely ignorant of, that if I was aware what people knew how to do, I would go, well, I'd want to learn that.
Yeah. There's a couple on your list here that are
obviously
very unique to your position as a lead pastor.
Yeah, true.
Then there's a couple that are just maybe more unique to just who you are individually as a person.
Yeah.
What would you tell someone listening right now how you derived this list? The curious list versus what we are calling traditionally a resolution list. What were the processes that you put in place? Did you just start writing down, what do I want to be curious about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what the things that you came
I
up
just
with?
literally sat down and thought, hey, these people are great at this. And
So you started with people.
I see different things that people seem to excel at that I'm completely oblivious to,
Okay.
and go, I want to be great at that. I want to figure out how they do that.
Yeah.
For some of these, I've got starting points. For other of these, I have no idea. I mean, I completely like, I want to figure out how there's some families in our church. And I go, you have kids that are either adult kids or high school, college kids that you have incredibly healthy relationships with. I want to figure out how you do that. Like, what'd you do at this age that fostered that sense of independence and yet still intimacy as they were later on? Because I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah, that's good. I think when I said I don't do resolutions list, that was, I don't. I usually have some kind of a vision statement for myself for the year. It's more of a, hey, this year I want to become more like this.
Yeah.
And I'll write that out, whatever that is each year. I'll be like, that's kind of, I know I sounded crass earlier
good.
That I was like, oh, no,
get it.
not resolution list. That wasn't my point. My point was that it's not a specific, it's who I'm becoming, not what am I doing.
Yeah.
Which is more important to me, especially given my history. So that's just a really important thing. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me focused, and it keeps me moving forward.
Yeah.
As far as curious lists, though, what would you, for someone like me who has that one statement for the year, what would you tell me or anyone else listening how to get started with a curious list outside of people and starting points from them?
I would not sit down and carve out an hour to put it together.
Oh, that's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great.
I would
that's what most people do. Let's go sit down at a lake and with a picnic table and.
I mean, maybe you'll get
it
a
might
little
work.
traction there.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I would start just keeping a note with you, even on your phone.
I think it's
because
good.
I think that's the easiest way. And I would just start when you see someone who is excelling at something, be it someone in front of you, someone at distance, anything like that. When you see someone who's excelling, just write down what they're excelling at.
Yeah.
And what you would like to learn in that.
Yeah, that's good. And then based on, let's just take one of these. I'll just pick one of the ones that you put here. Want to learn what TV networks learned about creating personalities instead of programs and how that translates to an online audience without taking over the message, without overtaking the message itself.
Yeah.
Specifically, if you do learn that, some goals, outcome based. What's that actually do for you? Like, okay, I learned how to do it. What's that mean?
Well, I mean, for us individually,
for you individually, as your list is being built, like, what are you wanting to do? That, like, what happens once you learn it? Okay, I learned.
Oh, for me,
they learned.
Well, for one, I think the learning itself is worth it.
Okay.
Like even without the outcome.
Okay.
I think the learning itself expands what you can do and what you know in ways that you didn't possibly imagine, because it literally is the act of expanding your imagination.
So I think that's what I'm getting at. Is we're so used to in terms of organizational leadership, outcome-based goals.
Yeah.
And this is not that, is what you're saying.
I have ways.
You're making a determination here that this curious list doesn't need to always lead to an outcome base, because sometimes the outcome is just you learning more.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah. I would say it as like I learned how to think from having a dad who's an engineer.
Yeah.
I learned that.
Yep.
I didn't tie that to my
Shout
leadership.
out, Jim Jack.
Woo! I didn't tie that to my leadership early on, but it certainly impacts me in dramatic ways.
Yeah. I think that's a powerful note, though, for someone creating a list at the beginning of the year, that this specific list isn't tied to, it could be tied to your vision, but it's not tied to an organizational vision. It's tied to you and what you're trying to do and who you're trying to become. So it doesn't need to have an outcome base. It could be just learning for learning's sake.
Yeah. And I believe that at the end of the day, we're not fully aware of what skills are going to be transferable to our present assignment.
That's good.
And so I just really encourage people to get curious, start learning like crazy, and see what tools you'll pick up along the way that you didn't even realize you needed.
That's powerful. Cool. Wrap it up. That's it today for 159, better than a resolution list. We found out today that it was a curious list.
Yeah. More important than hitting the target is continuous improvement. And if you don't have an appetite for continuous improvement, that's going to be the problem to begin with. If you feel like defeated, don't sit down. If you're de-energized, don't sit down and try to go, all right, what are my resolutions for the year? Because you don't care.
Right.
And I think the best way to start that is to kind of stoke some wonder into your soul to begin with. And I think this is just one avenue to do that, to go, hey, what's all the things you want to know something about, and see where that leads.
That's so good. Sometimes we want to try to craft some crazy statement to move someone forward, and sometimes just getting better is the best statement that you can make for yourself. And that's exactly why this podcast exists. We're trying to figure this thing out together and with all of you every week when you're listening. Thank you so much for being here today. If you're new, we'd love for you to subscribe, and mean the world to us if you did that now. So post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how this helps get the podcast in the hands of so many leaders just like you. We love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online. Click that contact button and send it right there to us. We'd love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.